Welcome to the final episode of our CSA Fireside Chat for Season 2. The journey has been very enlightening. I've learned so much. We have learned together so much from the panelists and the young people or peers who are leading in various spheres across the Commonwealth. And today, I feel so honored to be joined by my colleague. Well, all of you are my colleagues, but especially Francis, who I work immediately beside. He is the Africa Regional Representative and Chair of the Africa Regional Committee. I will allow him to introduce himself first, and Oguns and Godwin, please introduce yourselves in that order.
All right. Thank you very much, Benjamin. Greetings, listeners and friends of the CSA. It's a pleasure to be on this call this afternoon. My name is Francis Azubike. I serve as the Africa Regional Rep on the Commonwealth Students Association Executive Committee, where I also chair the Africa Regional Committee, which consists of about 18 country reps at the moment, assisting with amplifying the voices of students across the Commonwealth, particularly within the Africa region and the countries within. We also have, I also have persons who are assisting in this role, who are serving as regional assistants, and they have been helping in carrying out the roles at their respective countries and portfolios. And I'm happy that I have them on this call to dive deep into issues as it relates to what we have done, or what we've done a few weeks back. With regards to the election observation. So I'm happy to be here, and thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much, Francis. Brethren, go ahead. It's Oguns first, then Godwin.
All right. Thank you very much for this great opportunity. I'm Victor Oguns by name, from Nigeria. I'm the regional assistant on programs, logistics, and engagement to the African regional representative, my own brother, Francis Azubike. It's really a pleasure for me to be granted this opportunity to serve the CSA at this time, in which I know that the agenda is wonderful, and I really want to key into it. That's why we have to gather together ourselves and observe the Nigeria election and the likes like that. We have been working together in the African region, making sure that things are going well, and to give the region a very befitting and the CSA a very wonderful reputation across the globe. So it's my pleasure to join this meeting and throw more light and insight to what we observe during the election. Thank you.
Thank you. Godwin, unfortunately, we're not hearing you. There may be an issue with your audio. I see that you're unmuted, but still not hearing. Gentlemen, are you hearing him?
No.
I cannot hear you.
No. Maybe you want to reconnect. And whenever you are settled with it, just interrupt us. But I'm going to continue, Godwin, until you're able to resolve it. All right, so the CSA has stepped into uncharted territory. We are ambitious and bold, and I will say that proudly. And one avenue that we have never gone down before in the 11 years of the CSA's existence is observing the elections of our members. Now, for context, it is very common across the Commonwealth for general elections, that is national elections, election of the national government, to be observed by international groups such as the Commonwealth Observer Group. Now, our members are made up of organizations, not individuals, specifically national student organizations like NANS and student unions. The CSA was invited to observe the elections of the National Union of Ghana students in July. Francis formed, I would say, a one-person delegation from the CSA to Ghana. And in December, we were invited again through the office of the Africa Regional Rep to observe the elections of the National Association of Nigeria Students. Did I get the acronym right? Yes.
Very well, Benjamin. Very, very well.
NANS. Now, yeah. You would appreciate that, one, this is new, so we're all learning together. You know, I could even see it in the quality of his report from the first observation, the first, what would I call it? The first time you went to Nugs, and I saw the maturing of the report in the second one to NANS. So we're growing this. You know, we have a few teething pains, some things we won't even tell you about in terms of logistics and flights and all of that, but it's coming together. And I'm so happy that this pioneer sits on the team leading this initiative in the Africa region, which we want to see adopted in all regions: Africa, Asia, Caribbean, Europe, and the Pacific. We have the potential to do it. We have the capacity to do it. And I want to publicly thank you, Francis, for taking the lead to set a very high standard, one, of the work, and two, of reporting. Because sometimes we do the work, but we don't report. But you, sir, I don't need to ask you for reports. You are the report whiz. You know, in fact, you often follow up with me. Benjamin, have you read my report? Love it. So I'm not trying to burst your head. I'm sincere. You know, if you weren't doing the job, I would have kept my mouth shut, but you are. So I have to talk about it. So I'm going to be handing over the floor now for you gentlemen to just make an expression, an opening remark on your experience as members of an inaugural observer group to the CSA. What did that mean for you? Let me start with Oguns. Victor.
All right. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity again. It's really meant a lot to me because actually this is my first time doing such kind of a big duty. It is not a national duty; it is an international duty. So it's the very first time where I engaged myself in that, and it was really wonderful. Like the experience, we gathered the highlights of everything that happened from the first day to everything. It was great. Like it was wonderful, the experience and everything. So the experience to observe the election, it's really a top notch for me as a Nigerian, to also see what happened in North and in everything. So for me, it's a very great experience for me. So I believe to engage in such kind of things again the next time, and right. So I will bring my own knowledge and insight to making sure that things go the right way and not going haywire. Thank you.
Yes. Godwin, let's see your audio now. Still the same issue, unfortunately. Yeah, still the same issue.
Godwin, I think you should try to go check your microphone setting. Probably it is on. It is off. Probably check from there.
Welcome, Jamilu. Could you introduce yourself for us and share what the experience was like. Generally, we're not diving yet into the meat of it. I just want to hear on the surface. What was this experience of observing the election of an organization that represents 44 million students in Nigeria? It's big, it's pretty big.
Yeah, actually, it is. Hello, everyone. My name is Mama Jamilo, and thank you very much, Benjamin, for this session. So I'll start with the invitation. I received the invitation. I had, kind of collaborated with the CSA when they had the summit in Abuja, and it was a wonderful experience as well. So upon receiving this invitation, I felt honored. That shows the CSA actually appreciates my work back then. So yeah, the experience itself with NANS, I would say it was a very good one because it actually showed me firsthand what the potential or should I say the potential of NANS in terms of governance in general in Nigeria, and I'll even extend it to Africa at large. So it showed me the possibility of what could happen if NANS is actually sensitized. That's number one. It showed me the opportunity technology itself has in terms of electioneering generally in Nigeria. So I would say it was a wonderful experience. It was an eye-opening session for us, the team in general, and yeah, generally it was a wonderful one, and I really, really like the fact that I got to contribute and looking forward to actually sharing more of my experience in this session.
Great, thank you. Francis, my ogre, let me hear from you. Oh, did he freeze? It seems that he froze. Let me continue without Francis until he resolves his connection. Let me ask now a general question. What do you think is the value of observing these kinds of elections to protecting democracy, good governance, and fairness? Why is it important? Any one of the gentlemen on the platform.
Okay, I think I should take this first. If Victor has anything he can add later. So thank you very much. Let me speak directly to NANS, the election. I think one of the purpose of observation is in terms of fairness and especially integrity of elections. Observation helps with actually ensuring that people don't tamper much with the electioneering process, because I remember vividly that we had an impact in the election in general. Like we had so much impact because at some point things were not going smoothly, but upon our arrival, we saw things went from zero, not to 100, but I'll say to 25 to 30. We actually made impact, like just our presence alone made impact. And observation, again, I think will actually help prefer recommendations, because just like you said earlier, the recommendations we give will actually assist not just NANS, but the Commonwealth and even the governance structure of the students in its entirety. So that's just the little I have on observation, the importance actually.
Thank you. Thank you. So part of what I'm getting from you, Jamilo, is when the watchful eyes of the international community came on the scene, you sort of felt the difference in the operation on the ground.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes. All right, Godwin and then Francis.
Okay, I think I would just add one thing, like what Jamil said.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. When it comes to democracy in terms of observing an election, you see one thing. You see, during their campaigns, normally what they will say is that they will be transparent. So I think in terms like this, in this kind of observing an election, to make sure that we are democratically inclined, I think is transparency. You understand? So since when we got there, everything tried to be transparent, so as for us to know why we are there, and for them to see, because they knew that there will be a report. So everything tried to be transparent in all actions that was included. So I think that's what I would say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Francis, in your expert view, because eventually you'll become an expert. Well, you dropped off before you were able to give the general feeling that you had about being a part of it, and then tell us what's the value of doing this kind of activity to preserving democracy, good governance, fairness, etc.
Okay, thank you very much, Benjamin, once again. Before I dropped off from the call, I was relating what you said regarding the difference which you observed from the reports from the NUC selection and the report that we have from NANS. It's something that you will agree with me that experience is key, to issues like this. The more you go out for this kind of exercises, the more you learn about some certain things that you probably did not, include in your formal report and all of that. So basically, there were wide disparity with the reports of NUCs and NANS, even in reality, in deeds. So what I'm trying to say now is that there were some practices that NUCs adopted, which we could not see in NANS. There were some practices that NANS adopted, which was not evident during NUC's election. So, but this whole thing, or this whole exercise, is a learning curve for me and for every one of us. So the observation itself was not so much like I would expect it. Although I was not totally disappointed, because I had some pre-knowledge about how likely the whole event was going to turn out. But it was an opportunity for me to really have a first-hand experience, on the field, to say this thing was not observed during this particular NSO selection. But here we are in NANS, and we're seeing it applicable. Or these are the things that we usually see in our mainstream politics. But now we're now seeing it evident in student elections. So it's an opportunity to practicalize the values that we have in the CSA: the democracy, the rule of law, absolute independence for NSOs. We try to see that these values are not coming into play, when these elections have been held. And it's an opportunity to say that, okay, since we can find that, since we have realized that these things are not being practiced, then it's an opportunity for us to now correct what has not been in place, using the report as an opportunity to correct that. So that would be like the opening statement. Then what I feel with regards to the democracy aspect of it, the rule of law, the good governance, I would say for the next election, I'm not sure it's something that we observed. It's not something that was practiced in details. We realized that issues of independence, or I would say issues of NSOs having their own ability to operate within the confines of their constitution, or within the confines of their electoral laws, was not what we experienced. So it was difficult to bring in, or it was difficult for these values to come into play, because even the umpires of the election of the elections did not give these values the thriving ground for it to operate. So it was a roller coaster, kind of exercise. But I'm happy that we were there. That's number one. And so we're able to see things for ourselves, to say that the same thing we complain about, or we argue about in mainstream politics as young people, these are the same things that even we as young people are also, practicalizing in our own leadership space, and which ordinarily should not be so. So it was an opportunity to experience these things and then give some recommendations, some contributions to how it should go in the future.
Yes, yes. No, we have a diverse audience because the Commonwealth is diverse. We don't want to frighten anyone who is now learning about different ways student governance is carried out in the Commonwealth, but we are speakers of the truth. And while we're not trying to embarrass any member state or any organization, we're just going to share the truth. So I appreciate that the video that I'm about to send, I'm sort of giving a trigger warning. You may feel uncomfortable watching it, but it is the truth of what happened. In some countries, it would be unheard of that something like this could happen in a student government election. For some countries, when they talk about student unions and student councils, they're only talking about high school students, which is important. Some countries only have one national university. They really don't have any sort of tension to deal with. But in Nigeria, I'm going to ask the guests here to comment on what was happening in this very dramatic scene after we watch it.
Which is the best thing. Where can we park?
You're seeing my screen, yes?
Yes, Benjamin.
All right, so you just heard gunfire and you saw people running. You gentlemen were there. Tell us what was happening and why did it happen like this?
Okay. Let me quickly give a short insight about that video. We were at the entrance or opposite the entrance of the venue of the election ground, and then we're waiting to be accredited as observers. But we realized that there were some discrepancies between or within the convention planning committee. So there were some disagreements within them. So it kind of delayed our accreditation. So we were not able to get into the election venue at the right time. So we just stood outside, and then we took the time to observe the environment itself. Realized that it's at the back or situated at the back of the Nigerian Army is it office or their barracks, and we thought, well, it's a good place because we observed that there was a heavy presence of security operatives there, so we felt safe. Only for us to, at some point, we realized that there were some group of people, chanting, coming, the way campaign is. So they were showing support to their favorite candidates. That was going on at intervals, at various points. So I think at some point, some particular faction were not allowed entry into the election venue. So the security operatives at the gates refused them entry. So that triggered a kind of a fight, an uproar at the time. So they were agitating that they would need to get into the venue and all of that. That was what we were observing at the time, and people were shouting, raising some noise to say, if we're not allowed to enter this venue, there will be problem. So because of the resistance, the security operatives tried to use some forceful means, to disperse or to calm the situation. So that was where the gunshot started. So there were gunshots from the student angle to counter the ones coming from the security operatives. So it resulted into a chaos that we experienced in the video. And so it was a time when we had to evacuate from the venue, just like every other person we saw running in that video. So that was basically what happened there.
Yeah, Victor, as a recommendation to protect the safety of any future observer group, what would you like to see done to ensure that the observer group members are safe?
Well, I think it's important that certain provisions be made for election observer groups going forward, in terms of their safety, in terms of ensuring that, particularly their safety is paramount. So that when we're going for exercises like this, provisions like security, what's it called, should be provided to ensure that observer groups are in good conditions, they're in good hands, they are safe, and they can exercise their duties without fear. It's very important that provisions like accommodation, accommodation in a safe environment, that is important, because I realized that at some point we had to start evacuating from hotels to be safe. So the first hotel we lodged had delegates also lodged there. So we realized that it was not safe for us, because they could realize that these are Commonwealth Student Association observers, and then they might want to come to manipulate or try to lobby some things, or try to the things young people do. So it was important that we needed to leave that hotel to a more safer environment where there was little to no delegates residing in that particular place. So accommodation in a very safe environment, security operatives to be provided by the host organization, so that persons who are observing will observe knowing that they are safe, their lives are safe, they are, and they can also observe without fear that what would this report, what will be the aftermath of this report? So before the election, during the election, and post-election, there should be a guarantee of safety for election observers across boards.
Thank you, Francis. Victor, Jamilu, Godwin. Godwin, I really hope your audio is good now. Let me put a hypothetical scenario to you. You have just completed observing the elections of any African country, and now the integrity of the observer group is being put into question. What are you able to say has been put in place to protect against the appearance of compromised integrity within the observer group? If you have an observer group coming that's bought, that has been bribed, that is already skewed, then there is no point to having the observer group. And we know that people are going to, even if it's not true, make accusations. So gentlemen, what would be your response in such a scenario?
Sorry, can you come again with the question?
Okay, so I'm putting a hypothetical scenario to you as the observer group. You're being accused that your integrity is compromised, that you're biased, you're not fair, your reporting and observation is not fair. How do you respond to an accusation like that?
All right. Thank you very much, Benjamin. So the first thing I will say, and I like that we did, was how we leveraged technology by documenting each step that we took. For example, the video submitted to you, I think we took some pictures of everything. So I think the first step would be to actually ask either the organization or the people involved, that is the people making the accusation, to actually follow up on each step that we took. Then the last step would be to actually make these recommendations. In this instance, I think prompt report and recommendations we actually put in place, or should I say put forward from the observation. So to actually reference these recommendations and the observations to the people involved in such scenario.
Yeah, very well. Thank you for
Benjamin, to quickly chip in to that question, it was one of the reasons why we thought it wise to put the reports almost immediately, not to stale it, because we feel that if the report comes later, it might come with it may be received with a different feeling of probably it has been compromised, has been tampered with, and all of that. So while the situation was still hot, while the whole stuff was still ongoing, so it was important to put the report there so that people are seeing what is going on online. The report, the situation is still fresh, and so when the report comes, they can always check it, in line with what is actually going on. So in coming up with our report, one thing we did very clearly was to check the electoral laws of the host organization. We compared the electoral laws with our own terms of reference. So we ensure that whatever it is that we are stating in this report is in line with the electoral laws. Let me give you an instance of, if you look at the report again, under the third observation, where where we said, we note very carefully the provisions of the law in Article 7, Subsection 5 of the Nantes Constitution, which states explicitly that the chairman of the convention shall conduct all elections into the various offices and make returns. We observe that there is no provision of the law which empowers any other officer or organ of the association to carry out this function. In the light of this law, we note that the press release made by the outgoing president on the 1st of December, dissolving the CPC and authorizing the Assistant Secretary General and the zonal coordinators to conduct the elections is not in tandem with the electoral laws as provided in the Nantes Constitution. So before we could come up with such statements, we are sure that we had checked the law, so that because I personally received some calls as to why I said the incumbent president does not have the right to produce that press statement, which he released on the 1st of December. So I referred the person who called me to the Constitution to go check, so that he or she understands that constitutionally, the president does not have that right at that time. So what the law states was that the accreditation committee, which is going to be headed by the Assistant Secretary General, should conduct the accreditation 48 hours after the date of the arrival has been announced. So the date of arrival was 27. So ordinarily, constitutionally, the whole accreditation process should end by the same time on 29th of November. But unfortunately, as at 29th of November, there was no accreditation, in place. So, which of course prompted the incumbent president to make such release. But while we understand that the release was in good faith, was to salvage, situations because they were kind of getting out of hand. But we understand that no matter the situation, the constitution, the electoral laws must take center stage. It must be the center focus of whatever activity that that is going to occur or that is going on within or that will happen within that particular scenario. So we ensure that the laws that are provided there were also in tandem with what our terms of reference spelled out as to what we should be doing regarding the election observation. So if there were of course there were what I call it accusation, but they were questioning as to why is this in the report, why is this in the report. So we had to refer them to the constitution, to the electoral laws, so that they can check, and we also refer them to the videos, we refer them to the pictures, we refer them to some posts made by persons who were within the organization. You get that now? So the social media was really helpful, like my colleague said. So it was an opportunity to say, look at some posts made by persons within the organizations regarding this particular scenario, and check if we are actually the ones you should come to question to, or to give this particular question to. So it was a practical scenario for us.
What's your take, Godwin and Victor? What's your take?
All right. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I want you to know that this group put in place by the African representative, Mr. Francis, is a very young. We are young minds, and we have integrity within our various scopes where we've said, oh, they can go and verify. Our integrity is standing firm anywhere we are. So this group that you are seeing, so we come together from different perspectives, but coming together, we have a goal. We have one goal of transparency. That is one thing that you should know. And we have an integrity. So I don't know if you saw some pictures that was sent to you by Francis. Yes, that we try our possible best to meet with various committees. Those people who are coming out for all the presidents, the Senate, everyone. We try our possible best to make sure that we are with each and every one of them, so that when this one see the picture that we are with this faction, they will not think that we are with them. Do you get? Yeah. So we went around. We went everyone that gave us an open mind, an open space. We try to meet with you. We have a conversation with you. Even when we met with one faction, that we saw so many other aspirants. They were so eager to talk to us. It is a privilege, Seth, to want talk to us, to want share their own opinion, their own mind towards the election. So this group is a very is one group that is full of integrity. So we have not sabotaged our integrity for anything. That's what I just want you to know.
And it is well received. Godwin, let's hear from you. Try removing the earphones, unplugging the earphones. No. Well, Victor, what I gather from you is one of the ways that you mitigate against accusations of compromised integrity is that the team was selected from young people with a track record of integrity. And that's important. You can't have people who names have been muddled in schemes. people who have been accused, well, you can accuse anybody of anything, but founded accusations, proven accusations of a lack of integrity, they could not be a part of a group of this scope. So I hear what Francis is saying about ensuring that the report was in alignment with the electoral rules, as well as releasing the report in the shortest reasonable time. I hear Jamulu saying the use of technology, documenting what took place through the use of technology. And these are, I believe, very practical tips for the next group, if not yourselves, for another group in the Caribbean, in Asia, in the Pacific, who want to lend some assistance to a neighboring country or even their own to observe their elections. Well, we have a few minutes left in our talk, and I want us to steer a little bit into the discussion on national politics. No, I don't want you to feel constrained to say anything you don't want to say. We have to be wise, even in speaking out. So I'm going to ask some heavy questions, but just be measured in your response. Nigeria is a country I love. Nigeria, oh, wow, wow. I've not traced my ancestry, but I think that somewhere, either in Ghana or Nigeria, I have some Nigerian roots. It is a fact that Nigeria has had to deal with serious levels of corruption. That is a known fact. How does this kind of grassroots engagement play into the future of national politics in Nigeria? How does your contribution as vanguards of a fair electoral process play into President of Nigeria, Francis Azubike, 2050? Tell me, share what you believe is the nexus between this kind of activity and the future of Nigeria, not Nigeria alone, but our nations as young people across the Commonwealth. I want to hear from everybody.
Okay. All right, thank you, Benjamin. I think that first, before we talk about how we could make it right, how our activity or how our exercise now would inform, the future. I think it's important that we try to ensure that the students' body itself or the mainstream politics are not so are not heavily incentivized. They're not attractive. One of the things that I realized which I would say got so many people interested in the student leadership at NANT level or in some other NSOs is the kind of incentives that they receive. So a lot of persons put their eyes on this returns, so much that they will do anything. I mean, anything to get into that hours. So because of the kind of returns that they would get, it's just not as possible to do actually anything to get into that power. So it's important that we cut down on the kind of incentives, that a student leader is being given when a student leader is receiving the kind of incentive that we see that an ordinary that a senator receives. It becomes a problem. His focus shifts from being a servant leader to being, someone who supposedly comes there or comes to the position just for the money or just for the gains. So The same thing goes for our mainstream politics. I think there's a bill we have in the House at the moment that's about how the kind of incentives that presidents, senators receive should be cut down, so that such money could be utilized for other national benefits. So it's important that we first of all make it as unattractive as possible, so that we can attract persons who are willing to serve, who are coming to the position basically or purposely for service, and not just for what they intend to get from the position. That's number one. So for this, for how the activity or how the election observation informs the future in terms of, in the mainstream politics, personally, as individuals, it imbibes in us the spirit of democracy, ensuring that only the right things are done. Imagine when Nooks as a body invites the CSA to come observe its election. It was the same thing that NANS saw that made them invite, the CSA. So I believe it was in good spirit. It was in good faith. So the NANS body took the right step by inviting the CSA. But it's about the element. It's about some unscrupulous elements within the organization that tend to disrupt the entire process. So when we're talking about NANS, we're not saying the entire body is not rightly positioned. But we feel that it's the persons who come into positions that are that in a kind of way they try to change the narratives or change the way the right process should go. So, but I believe that with the presence of the observer group there, it would send some signals or send some information, some kind of it would inform persons who are there to say, okay, it's only important that we do the right thing, because we observed, and I personally observed, that because of the presence of the CSA there, some persons could not take some actions because they were like, we would not want to, damage our image in the eyes of the CSA, in the eyes of the Commonwealth. So they were at some point trying to protect their integrity or the image. Now imagine that the CSA was not present there. Everyone could have probably wanted to do, or want to, behave in the way they would want to, in the way they like. It would be a kind of an anarchy where everyone does whatever they do. But because of the fact that the CSA was there, the presence alone sent some messages, to the delegates, and also some stakeholders who received us saw that it was wise that if young people can actually take these bold actions, these bold steps, it is important that we do it right in the mainstream politics. So as individuals, it will help us to uphold these values personally, values of good governance, even if eventually we have the opportunity to get into the mainstream politics, we will, because we have been practicing these values, from the past, even as young people, we would also want to ensure that we keep it going. Then, practices like the rule of law, ensuring that similar as election observer groups are invited to ensure that they give their independent observation about how the entire process has been. So I think that's one of the benefits that we can realize from such exercise.
Thank you for your contribution, Francis. I absolutely agree. I'd like to hear from the other gentlemen as well as we near the end of this discussion.
Okay, thank you very much, Francis. That was a very wonderful submission. I totally agree with you. Then on the part of cutting down or making the posts for student leaders less incentivized, I would say it also borders on transparency. There should be a very, very high level of transparency in their dealings. And I also think on the aspect, I'll also speak on the aspect of tech. There should be a very, very strong use of social media on the part of the national body of the Nigerian students, because they are actually lacking in that aspect. So how it relates to Nigerian, let me just sum it up to Nigerian politics. I'll say presently, young people are agitating for leadership positions in different categories nationally. And usually it is these young people, young student leaders that we expect to actually transcend into these positions. So at the CSA level, one thing that the regional representative brought to us is to actually ensure that this process is credible, because these leaders presently will actually be the national leaders tomorrow. So as they are transcending into this leadership position soon, it is better the credibility, the transparency, and the like starts from this position, because whatever they learn at this position will actually reflect tomorrow when they are over there. So that's just it for me. I'm trying to say that I support Francis with all his submissions, and there should also be transparency in their dealings. Thank you, and over.
Thank you. Victor, Godwin.
All right. Thank you for the opportunity again to speak. Like, I'm in support with what Francis has said, and Jamilu. You know, like the saying that youth are the leaders of tomorrow, right? Yeah. So I think with our present student leaders that are going to transcend later on to becoming the leaders in the various countries, whether Africa, Asia, America, the rest like that. I think one thing that we should stand for integrity and transparency. That is just the fact about it. The thing is this: when you know that you are going to lead thousands of persons, millions of persons, you have to stand firm, like not allowing yourself to be compromised by any means or the, because that's what we see in our mainstream, in our major politics. So we now as the student leaders, we should try our possible best to ensure that our hands are not fetish, because going into the major position, so that we will not be all what we've already desire, all our goals will not be put into the trash because of maybe some other things that might tamper our integrity. So we should have this mindset of serving, this mindset of servanthood, and not this position seeking person and acquiring all things to yourself. You understand? If young leaders, if young people have this mindset that, oh, I'm coming here to serve, but not to acquire wealth or acquire popularity or gain fame, I think they will be cautious in things they do, so that what we experience will not repeat itself in later future. Thank you.
Thank you. Godwin? Unfortunate. But Godwin, you know, I really do appreciate all your contributions. Despite the technical difficulty, you have played a significant role in the team, and, you know, we just want to express our appreciation for you. In closing, gentlemen, I would like to share with you the Commonwealth Student Integrity Declaration. It's a formal, symbolic statement that student government representatives sign to publicly commit to upholding ethical standards, transparency, and accountability in their roles. It covers 5 articles on transparency, campaign finance, political favors, student elections, and managing funds. For any of us who are acquainted with real student government, you know that it is a microcosm of national leadership. Much of what happens in these national student bodies is a reflection of what we are to look forward to in these leaders in the future. And if we can treat national student leaderships as an incubator for future leaders, then we would see the need to instill values of transparency, good governance, and accountability. And I really am behind this observer group project and looking forward to expanding on it. And we'll be calling on you, gentlemen, well, through this recording, as well as some sort of consultants to other young people across the Commonwealth who want to provide this kind of safeguard for democracy in their own nation. Because I don't see it as just student politics. I see it as our future. I see this as holding the future Minister of Education or Minister of Finance accountable, because in many of our member states, national leaders are often persons who matriculate from these very organizations. We see it in New Zealand, we see it in NANS, we see it in Namibia, yes, we see it in Jamaica. Student leaders are generally the ones who are interested in representational politics and eventually climb the ladder to sit in political office. And we want to champion this document. And I hope that when we formally approach NANS, even though I'm speaking to the observer group, you're all Nigerians, when we formally approach NUGS and NANSO, that they will not hesitate to embrace what is agreed in this document. I'll just read the preamble in closing. We, the students of the Commonwealth, recognizing that student government is a microcosm of public administration, acknowledging that elected student leaders represent large youth constituents, understanding that the future of national leadership of member states will likely be occupied by elected student leaders, affirming that elected student leaders must hold themselves to a high standard of integrity, ethical behavior, transparency, accountability, and to avoid conflicts of interest, recognizing that student government members are still students and should prioritize their academic responsibilities. Looking forward to championing this, particularly during the Year of Youth Tour, when we will sit face to face with our members. Yes, I will be calling for closing remarks, brief closing remarks from guests. Again, I want to sing your praises and thank you for volunteering your time to do this great work and to be pioneers in an area that we have not ventured into as an organization. I'd like to give Francis the last word, so let's take Godwin, Jamilu, and Victor. Go ahead, Jamilu. Go ahead, Victor.
All right, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity again, Benjamin. So I won't say much. I would just like to appreciate the CSA on behalf of me and my comrades. Then I would also like to push that whatever recommendations we came up with, especially as it concerns the CSA, for you to actually ensure that the CSA follows through with it, because we actually need for these recommendations to come true to ensure sanity in students' election, not just in Nigeria, but in Africa in general. So thank you so much. I appreciate you, Benjamin. I appreciate the CSA. I appreciate Francis and my fellow comrades. Over to you.
All right. Thank you once again, Benjamin, and my brother Francis, and the rest of my colleagues, they were very, it was as if we were known ourselves before, why on this operation. But the fact is that we just met. Francis just brought all of us together, and we have this one goal, because he is a kind of leader that is so passionate about what he wants, and he inculcated that in us, and we got it. So I want to appreciate the CSA for this opportunity once again. Our service is needed. We will gladly come and make the CSA proud all over, even in Africa and the rest of the world. Thank you very much.
Over to you, Francis. Thank you. Francis, no, your audio is gone.
Am I audible now?
Good, you're good.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, Benjamin. I want to first appreciate the team for their wonderful efforts and the roles they played during the exercise. I'm not sure we would have been able to come up with such reports without their immense contribution. That said, I just want to make two statements, basically. The first is that the political community across the Commonwealth should give the national state organizations this autonomy, the full independence to act and to operate without any undue influence from any quarter. It is important because when we realize that there are no influences from the political community, the will of the people will thrive. So it's important that the student community is entirely free of any undue influence from the political community. Political leaders must stay clear, or should stay clear, from anything that has to do with student leadership, except of course if they intend to support their programs and initiatives. That is very welcomed. I would also want to use this opportunity to call on our governments, to ensure that youth inclusion is not a paper tiger. It's not something that we just put in the policy paper and then we don't act on it. It is now. The time to act is now. It's important that we include young people in national assignments, in issues that may directly or indirectly affect them, in terms of how they, in terms of education or issues around youth development. So it's important that they include young people, in these initiatives. Imagine the Commonwealth Secretariat including somebody from one of the 13 youth networks that we have in the Commonwealth, in their various election observation across the Commonwealth. Just 2 or 3 months ago, or in the last 3 months, the Commonwealth team has observed about 3 or 4 different elections. So we have 13 youth networks, and I'm sure that we have reps from the 56 countries in these youth networks. So if the Commonwealth is going to be observing an election in Bangladesh, for instance, we have a youth leader in Bangladesh who could join the team, to observe, or some youth leaders who could join the team from there to, so that they could also have this first-hand experience as to what that has been done. So it is important that young people are are included. So it's about not just it also boils down to the ECOWAS, the African Union, the CARICOM, every other international organizations that directly deal with young people. It is important that we include young people in our various activities. I think that would form my closing remarks for this meeting. Thank you very much, Benjamin, once again for having us. It's been a pleasure being on this call.
Thank you, gentlemen. And we are now at the end of not only this episode, but the end of season 2 of the CSA Fireside. Stay tuned for the sequel to the CSA Fireside, which is the Rojak series. We won't be speaking much English. When it comes back to Nigeria, you're going to hear your native tongue. It will be by students in the native language of students as we seek to expand our reach to non-English speakers across 1.4 billion youth and students in the Commonwealth. This is our year of impact. It's a new month. January is done. It's now February. Let's go. The Lord bless you. Take care.